Did you see Davis's last fight against Roach?
Yes.
You did see it?
Yeah.
Because I know you don't, these days, you don't always watch all the fights. What'd you think of the fight?
I thought Roach won the fight. It was a close fight.
You see Davis?
I think Davis has to start taking boxing seriously. You know, it's not just a media kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know the kid. All three, I think, would beat Davis. I really believe that. But that's why they do the fights, you know? You get in the ring and you determine who's better.
Bob Arum has now joined the long list of boxing professionals and promoters who believe the March 1st fight between Lamont Roach and Gervonta Davis was rigged. According to him, the officials on the night were in a battle against Roach, seeing that Tank had several reasons to lose the fight. Yet, even the round where he seemed to be very messy, he won it on all judges' scorecards. This particularly made the top-ranked promoter criticize the fight, and while he embraced the idea of a rematch, he was hoping that the favoritism that characterized the first fight doesn't repeat itself, because the entire world will be watching.
But he seemed sort of ordinary.
In that fight, to you. Do you think, you know, he wins the rematch, though? Perhaps he comes in with a better mind state?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know the kid.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's capable of changing.
What made you want to, usually, sometimes you don't watch these fights.
Legendary boxing promoter Bob Arum issued a stern warning to Gervonta Davis after the latter's controversial draw against Lamont Roach on March 1st. Arum has urged Davis, who appeared vulnerable and ordinary in his latest outing in the veteran promoter's eyes, to start taking boxing seriously again. I thought Roach won the fight. It was a close fight. Arum told Sean Zittel, "I think Davis has to start taking boxing seriously. It's not just a media kind of thing. He seems kind of ordinary. I don't know if he's capable of changing." Davis, undefeated at 30-0-1, struggled against Roach, even taking a knee in the 9th round, a moment the referee controversially did not score as a knockdown.
What made you want to tune in that time? You wanted to get a good look at him?
Yeah, I want to get a look at him because he's been mentioned as a possible opponent for fighters that I promote.
Are you looking at Keyshawn Davis as potentially like the flagship fighter of the company now? The guy to build around? I
really think so. I think Shakur beats him. I think Teofimo beats him. And I think Lomachenko beats him. Well, Tank Davis is an excellent fighter, and he's a big attraction. So sure, we would like to match any of the guys that you've mentioned against Tank Davis and see how well they would do. I like our guys to win the fight, but that's why they do the fights, right? So, again, we're open to any of that.
Arum's interest in Davis's career and future isn't casual. He views Davis as a potential opponent for his stable of young talent at top rank, including Keyshawn Davis, Raymond Muratalla, and Abdullah Mason. However, a few weeks after the Roach fight, Arum is now openly questioning Davis's future with his latest remarks. "I wanted to get a good look at him because he's been mentioned as a possible opponent for fighters that I promote," Arum said. Davis, whoever, could seek more lucrative paydays against the likes of Jake Paul, or even try to go for a rematch against Ryan Garcia.
You know, as far as Tank Davis is concerned, I think that more and more we're talking with BBC, and we'll be making fights with them.
Is part of, Turkey.
That said, Davis will likely face Roach again at some point soon, although that's still not set in stone, and the former could opt to face a different opponent. Davis versus Roach was ruled a majority decision draw 115, 113, 114, 114, 114, 114. However, Roach appealed the verdict due to the controversial call made by veteran referee Steve Willis in round 9. Davis dropped to one knee in the 9th. Seconds after being hit with a left hand from Roach, the reigning WBA super featherweight champion, Willis began to administer a 10 count for Davis after he took the knee, but then inexplicably stopped and ultimately decided not to rule it a knockdown. Davis said afterward that he took the knee so he could wipe his eyes after complaining that grease from his braids was bothering him. However, the rules of boxing are clear in not allowing fighters to call their own timeouts. Thus, Davis's impromptu kneel down should have been counted as a knockdown.
Cards. Judge at the ringside, Eric Marlinski scores it on 115 to 113 in favor of Gervonta Davis. Judges Steve Weisfeld and Glenn Feldman both scores about 114 to 114, even a draw. The decision is a majority draw.
Had Davis's kneel down been ruled a knockdown, Roach would have likely won the contest on all three of the judges' scorecards, because two of the three judges scored round 9 in favor of Davis. If Roach had been credited with the knockdown, all three would have been inclined to score the 9th a 10. 8 for Roach, which means the final scores would have been 114, 113, 114, 113, and 115, 112, all in favor of Roach. NYSAC uses instant replay technology to overturn referees' decisions if the commission feels those decisions are incorrect, but a similar reversal was not possible Saturday because of a technical issue, according to the commission.
What was going through your mind when you heard the decision?
Nobody like a draw, you know, from a guy that get knockouts and things like that, but it's cool. I feel like if we fight again, I could do more. And I should have did more. I was lost in I lost track in the rounds. That's why we need what is it called? Yeah, man.
NYSAC acknowledged in its final decision that Roach should have been credited with a knockdown in the 9th, and that referee Willis made a mistake. Yet, while it has the power to retroactively overturn Willis's decision and change the result of the bout to credit Roach with the knockdown, NYSAC ultimately opted not to do so. Despite the commission's refusal to alter the draw, Roach does have a strong chance of landing a rematch with Davis, which would likely come with a significantly larger purse than the first fight.
I didn't know what round it was. Facts.
Tank Eric Blum from DailyMail.com. First off, your coach just said, can you confirm, did you get your hair done 2 days before the fight?
Yeah. I ran water over it today, but I must ain't do it enough.
Can you describe what the feeling was like in the ring?
As Davis holds a WBA title, the WBA sanctioning body has the power to order him to face Roach again, and failure to do so could result in Davis being stripped of his belt. WBA President Gilberto Mendoza indicated to the ring that he is poised to order a second fight between the pair. Davis also has the opportunity to voluntarily make an immediate rematch with Roach, as the contract for the first fight provided Davis with a rematch clause in the event that he did not emerge as the winner, which he did not. "Say no more, I'm pushing for a rematch," Davis said in a social media post.
Was it to get the towel out, to get the burn out of your eyes, or what was going on?
I didn't want to get caught. I didn't want to get caught while my eyes was burning. And you know, like, you can get knocked out like that. So I'd rather take the knee than, you know. But I didn't really know that you can, like, get disqualified for all that. Or, like, when you start counting, I'm like, what the hell? But I don't know. It's cool.
Do you want that rematch next? And if so, how likely it is?
The legendary top-ranked chief has worked in the sport for over 50 years and at 93 years old still shows no signs of slowing down. Arum has promoted a number of big names throughout his time in boxing, but it is one of his up-and-coming stars that he believes has what it takes to become one of the best in the world. The lightweight division has become one of the most exciting weight classes around over the past few years, due to the emergence of pound-for-pound contenders like Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson, and Vasily Lomachenko.
Turkey, Al-Sheikh, and the new is part of that prompting you guys to work together more when in the past you may not have.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's competition in the marketplace is a good thing, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you think you make that Xander Zayas Fundora fight?
Yes. I think that's a...
Davis is the reigning World Boxing Association champion. Stevenson holds the World Boxing Council title, while Lomachenko is in possession of the International Boxing Federation belt. But Arum has told YSM Sports Media that upcoming world title challenger Keyshawn Davis can beat all of them. I favor Keyshawn over anybody in the lightweight division right now, including Lomachenko. If Lomachenko comes back, I don't think he'll be as great as he was before. He was never really big enough at lightweight. He was better at featherweight and junior lightweight. I think Keyshawn is better than anybody in the lightweight division. Arum has also been on a rescue mission, trying to save the sport from the Saudis and Dana White. Call it the ripple effects of Turki Al-Sheikh's boxing sojourn. It's one of those situations when a common rival appears on the horizon.
It's a good fight for both of them, and it'll create a lot of interest.
So is it more important now than ever that you guys do have a good relationship putting together fights?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because the Saudis are paying a lot of money for the fights that they put on, and we avail ourselves of that money with our fighters. But to make big fights on our own.
The old guard, Bob Arum, understands. Alone, they cannot tackle the new force. So why not join hands and deal with the adversary collectively? That basically sums up the hints Bob Arum dropped during a recent interview. With its unique format and a theme purportedly aimed at getting boxing great again, the Riyadh season TKO boxing has seemingly unsettled the boxing world. Confusion about how the new promotion will function persists. Its relations and coexistence with other promotions and sanctioning bodies remain the burning issue. With rumors adding fuel to the fire, uncertainty often causes a feeling of insecurity. Naturally, to ward off any calamity, setting up a pre-deterrent becomes imperative. Perhaps that may be the reason why, in light of the recent developments, Bob Arum may potentially reach out to rival Al Haymon's PBC. And what better way to cement the newly forged partnership than by putting on a show headlined by a boxing superstar?
In many cases, we need to work together with BBC, and they need to work with us.
How do you think the logistics of that work itself out network-wise? Because those were always roadblocks in the past.
Yeah, but there aren't anymore. I mean, they do most of their...
The conversation actually began with Vasyl Lomachenko's potential return. Later, Bob Arum spoke about the title fight between Lamont Roach Jr. and Gervonta Davis earlier this month. Like many, he also felt that Roach Jr. had done enough to secure a worthwhile victory. The discussion stirred Sean Zittel to highlight the title unification involving top ranks Keyshawn Davis, Tank, and Shakur Stevenson. Bob Arum ruled out a potential fight between Keyshawn Davis, whom he even compared to Sugar Ray Leonard, and friend Shakur Stevenson. However, he acknowledged that things in boxing can always change, but there's a strong substitute. You know, as far as Tank Davis is concerned, I think that more and more we're talking with PBC, and we'll be making fights with them, stated the veteran promoter.
Pay-per-view with Prime, and we have a great relationship with Prime, particularly in Japan.
With the new
Inoue.
Right. Do you I know you've mentioned others, DAZN, Netflix is getting into. What do you think Top Rank land?
As Sean Zittel further reflected, it's part of, Turki Al-Sheikh, and the new is part of that, prompting you guys to work together more when in the past you may not have. Bob Arum acknowledged. That is correct. So the competition from Saudi-backed fights is encouraging U.S. promoters to work together more. Zittel cited another example, the potential face-off between PBC TGB's Sebastian Fundora and Top Rank's Xander Zayas, he remarked. So is it more important now than ever that you guys do have a good relationship putting together fights? Arum promptly reiterated, absolutely, absolutely. The Top Rank honcho further explained, because the Saudis are paying a lot of money for the fights that they put on, and we avail ourselves of that money with our fighters. But to make big fights on our own, in many cases, we need to work together with PBC, and they need to work with us.
Pay-per-view with Prime, and we have a great relationship with Prime, particularly in Japan.
With the new
Inoue.
Right. Do you is
To that extent, Arum even ruled out previously existing roadblocks, such as those related to networks. The news of the TKO Riyadh season deal immediately sent worrying signals across the boxing world. When questioned, Oscar De La Hoya said that he felt a bit offended. No, look, I mean, I did hear that he passed over the reins of boxing to Dana White. Well, that comment to me, I felt a little offended, said the Golden Boy, who later added, so what I'm going to do is stay in my lane and do what I do for Golden Boy and with DAZN and give the fight fans the best fight that can possibly be made. As Sean Zittel highlighted, boxing could potentially evolve to resemble the corporate world in some ways. Increased competition among stakeholders means better fights and events for the fans. From a broader perspective, the advent of Saudi TKO boxing may prove to be a boon for the sport rather than a bane, as many currently suspect.
I know you've mentioned others, DAZN, Netflix is getting into. What do you think Top Rank lands after ESPN?
Well, all I know is we're going to.
Not long after the Gervonta Davis versus Lamont Roach fight, new rumors started swirling, this time about a potential fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis, given Tank could get past Lamont Roach Jr. on March 1st. But with that fight ending in a draw, those plans went out the window. Just a day ago, Fight Hub TV caught up with Timothy Bradley Jr. in Las Vegas. He was there at the Michaela Mayer versus Sandy Ryan weigh-in. During a quick chat, they asked for his thoughts on Tank's recent draw. The Desert Storm didn't hold back. According to him, the 30-0-28 KO boxer knows what he brings to the table. But after watching how mentally and physically tough Lamont Roach Jr. was during their March 1st fight, he realized there's still work to be done.
You know, it's gonna be interesting to see, man. So
do we see the same when Gervonta rematches Lamont Roach?
Could be, yeah, because the styles make fights, man, and obviously.
For some reason, he believes Lamont Roach has Gervonta Davis's number. It could be the same result. Styles make fights, man. Lamont Roach and anybody that can take a shot is tough and can take it to Tank. They can beat him. Roach is mentally tough, was able to execute his game plan, march forward in spots. He was able to control a lot of the pressure, and he hits hard enough to get Tank's respect. He landed on Tank Davis. He was there battling mentally, going back and forth. He handled his business. He did a great job.
Like he handled his business. He did exactly what he's supposed to do. He did a great job. Him and his team had him ready. You know, the second time around, I mean, look, Tank.
Speaking on the rematch, Bradley said, a win for Davis will get him back in good standing with the fans despite the controversy. The second time around, look, Tank knows what he brings. Tank knows he's a tough opposition. Tank knows that his style is tough as well. I'm sure he'll go back to the drawing board and see what they can improve on. They're gonna put their best foot forward. Bradley pointed out the fact that the Reaper put Tank on the canvas in the 9th round, and that event should be all the motivation he needs to come back stronger.
No, Tank knows what he brings. You know, Tank knows he's a tough opposition. Tank knows that his style is tough as well. I'm sure Tank's gonna go back to the drawing board and see where they can improve in or improve on, and you know they're gonna come back and they're gonna put their.
You know the fact that you got a draw. The fact that you had a big fight lined up with Jake Paul after this. And now you gotta wait, now you gotta do this rematch, bro. If this does not motivate you, I don't know what will, he said frustratedly. Moreover, he added that the WBA lightweight champion's name is getting dragged to the mud. On top of it, all those fans that were on his side, bro, now a lot of them are switching teams, he pointed out. That's the reality of boxing. So to prevent that from happening, he got a lot of proof. Not only to himself, but also to his fans. Bradley's message is clear. If Tank handles his business in the rematch, does what he should have done the first time around, then all the negativity, gone. Fans are quick to criticize, but they're just as quick to forgive when a fighter delivers in the ring.
It's gonna be interesting to see, man. So
do we see the same when Gervonta rematches Lamont Roach?
Could be, yeah, because the styles make fights, man, and obviously. Lamont Roach, man, look, anybody that can take a shot and that's tough, bro, and that can take it to Tank, they can beat him, all right? Roach, he mentally tough, had his game plan, was able to execute, was able to march forward in spots. He was able to control a lot of the action.
And after that, it's back to bigger fights. Maybe even that showdown with Jake Paul. Bradley seems to think Paul is the guy Tank will go after next. But first, he's got to clean up this mess. However, if you somehow missed the T, let me remind you, the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight was a real thing. A few weeks ago, boxing insider Dan Rafael shared an update on X. His post read, sources, Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul exhibition was in works until the Lamont Roach draw. Tank instead invokes rematch right. June sequel planned. Yep, you read that right. If the 30-year-old had won his fight against Lamont Roach Jr., we'd likely be talking about a Tank versus Jake Paul showdown right now. But since the fight ended in a draw, those plans went straight out the window.
Tank, you know, the fact you got a draw, the fact that you had a big fight lined up with Jake Paul after this, and now you got to wait, and now you got to do this rematch, bro. If this don't motivate you, I don't know what will. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, his name right now is getting drugged through the mud. You know, and all those fans that was on his side, bro, a lot of them are switching teams now, you know? So, you know, look, he got a lot to prove, not only to himself, but a lot to prove to his fans and his fan base out there. So he go back in there, had his rematch, and he do what he's supposed to do, like he's supposed to do the first time around, then...
The 54-year-old later confirmed in an interview with Boxing News that the conversations were very real. They were definitely talking. They were absolutely 100% talking that had Tank Davis won that fight against Lamont Roach, I think it would have been a very good bet that they were going to do a fight between Jake Paul and Tank Davis, he admitted. Multiple sources told Fight Freaks Unite that talks for the Jake Paul fight were already happening behind the scenes. Now, it's to see whether they really settle their business after Tank finishes his rematch with Lamont Roach, either in June or July. Do you think another fighter should fight Gervonta Davis? How do you see that fight ending? And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected to us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.